Eden Park, Saturday night. Rain in the air, tension on the skin. Two early punches from New Zealand, a thundering South African response, and a finish that had every seat on its feet. This is Rugby from the Stands, and today, let's look at what actually happened beneath that noise. The momentum swings, the tactical trade-offs, and the stats that tell the real story of All Blacks 24, Springboks 17. Welcome back to Rugby from the Stands, everyone, the show where we love the game like fans and interrogate it like analysts. I was at Eden Park, soaking in every second, and if you were there too, you'll know that atmosphere moves through you. So if, like me, you left buzzing and didn't clock every tactical nuance, don't worry. We've got you. Here's the headline. New Zealand 24, South Africa 17 at Eden Park, extending the All Blacks' modern-era unbeaten streak at the ground to 51 tests since 1994. At the weather, passing rain and relentless kicking contest, and the stage was set for a bruising territorial chess match. This was also Ardie's 100th test, a milestone that framed the night before a ball was kicked. We'll talk about his influence at the breakdown and in those shutting the door moments. So let's look at the night in 90 seconds or less. Quick timeline. In the second minute, we had Imoni Narawa scoring the first try after Jody Barrett's conversion. It was 7 for New Zealand. In the 17th minute, Will Jordan strike move off the lineout. Damian McKenzie adds the additional 2. New Zealand 14. At the 23rd minute, Andre Pollard, he scores a penalty for 14-3 at the first water break. And that's your halftime score as well. After the halftime, in the first minute, Damian McKenzie slots in a penalty, brings the score to 17-3. At the 62nd minute, Malcolm Marx barges over. Sasha Feinberg Ngomazulu converts, bringing the score 17-10. And then at the 65th minute, Kwagga Smith is sent off to the bin with a yellow card. And 2 minutes later, Quinn Tupaia barges through and scores that match-winning, or at least the cushion-providing 7-point score. And at the 74th minute, Cobus Reinach snipes and Sasha converts, bringing the score to 24-17. And at the final minutes, South Africa camped in the New Zealand 22, but New Zealand hold firm. Full time, 24-17. Let's look at some of the numbers that mattered, because the stats sketch a game that felt very Bok-tilted in the middle, yet rewarded All Black efficiency. If you look at possession and territory, South Africa had all the possession. Well, at least overall, they had 52% possession versus New Zealand's 48%. In terms of territory, New Zealand had 40% versus South Africa's 60%. So South Africa clearly were playing in the right end of the field. If you look at the halftime splits, you see New Zealand's territory drops, right, from 45% in the first half territory to 35%, whereas South Africa's rises from 55% to 65%. That's a classic pattern. The Boks own the map, but unfortunately the ABs win the scoreboard. In terms of carries and, the gain line, basically both teams had equal number of runs, 95 to 95. But meters, New Zealand had 194 versus South Africa's 249. So South Africa had way more meters, but the difference was the clean breaks. New Zealand had 3, South Africa only had 1 clean break. And 1 clean break is not enough when you're spending 60% of the night in the New Zealand's 22. In terms of tackle and scrambles, New Zealand tackled 145 tackles out of 169, and South Africa 110 out of 135. So 86% tackle success rate for New Zealand versus 81% for South Africa. So the All Blacks were the better defensive executors, not perfect obviously, but better at the last ditch. That 5-point difference in tackle percentage matters when the game is decided by 7 points. In terms of the breakdown stability, Bucks won. New Zealand 75 out of 78, 96% versus South Africa's 81 out of 85, which is 95%. That is elite ball security both ways. With turnovers rare, each red zone entry grew in importance. In terms of the set piece, Scrums, New Zealand had 4 out of 6. That's a 66% success rate, which is very, very low compared to South Africa's 6 out of 6, which is 100%. So clearly, Boks dominated in the scrums. In the lineouts, New Zealand had 12 out of 15. That's 80% success. South Africa, 14 out of 18, which is a 77% success. So AB is slightly cleaner. You'll hear a lot of lineout specialists saying that you want it to be at least at 90% for it to be considered a good day at the office. So clearly, both teams didn't have a good day at the office, but in terms of success, AB is just slightly cleaner. And that small edge mattered, I feel. That Jordan try, for example, that comes off a slick lineout launch picture, I would give that to the All Blacks slightly. But in terms of discipline, both teams conceded 10 points each, but South Africa gave away one card. The only card of the night directly preceded that Tupaya's try as well. So that was a pivotal 7-point swing. So from a macro perspective, South Africa won the volume game, territory, meters, a scrum platform, but New Zealand won the efficiency game. The strike move, conversion, cleaner line out, higher tackle completion. Let's look at some of the tries that New Zealand scored, right? The first one was Narawa. New Zealand show early intent. The kick receipt, tempo, and a simple but brutal exploitation of space, with speed of ball and Narawa's magical finishing IQ. Then the conversion comes through Jordie Barrett. That first punch does two things. It puts the Boks behind the clock and invites their kicking pressure early than planned. The second try. This is a coaching masterclass. The line-out accuracy, the midfield hold, an inside ball picture that punches an aggressive fold. It's a line-out strike that needed clean throw, crisp timing, and a runner with Jordan's instincts. Mackenzie's, he was already on at the 7th minute, and he nails the extras. First minute, Mackenzie slots in the penalty. South Africa's surge in the second half, but New Zealand absorb all that pressure and they take that 3. That scoreboard management mattered in the end. 17-3 feels very different to 14-3, especially when the opponent is leaning on the scrum. 67th minute. After the Kwagga Smith yellow at 65, New Zealand exploit the 14-man channel with direct low-risk carries and excellent ball security. That was very, very smart. That's final style footy. Find the soft shoulder, don't force width, hammer the seam, and 24-10 after Mackenzie's kick. In short, New Zealand didn't need many red zone looks. They converted the ones they had, and that's the efficiency gap that they created. Let's give South Africa their due as well, right? They controlled territory, 60%. They won every scrum, 6 out of 6, and tilted momentum for long stretches. Their kick pressure under drizzle was relentless, and when the forwards locked in, Malcolm Marx crashed over. But here's the frustration if you're in green and gold. Clean breaks. Just one all night. Territory is valuable, but entries must threaten the line. New Zealand's scramble repeatedly forced the extra pass, which in rain is a tax you keep paying. Line-out reliability, 14 out of 18, that's 77%. That's okay, but not ruthless. 2 of the losses came in promising zones. Each loss is a 6 to 10 phase picture left on the table. Third, discipline in key minutes. The Smith yellow at 65th minute precedes the game's ceiling 7. Otherwise, penalties were even at 10 and 10. So it's not volume, that was timing. Rassie Erasmus called it a slow start and too many errors, and he's not hiding from it. You spot those individual lapses in the first quarter and in a couple of red zones sequences late. In terms of the set piece, scrum advantage was South Africa's. They were perfect on their own feed. Tilted penalties and Marx's try at 62 minutes flows from that platform and the momentum it created. It was the most dominant Bok weapon. In lineouts, it's shaded to New Zealand a little bit. 12-15 is spotless, but it's 80% with launch variety. And crucially, it's where the Jordan try originates. New Zealand didn't need to maul as often. They used the threat of it to play into the seam. South Africa's 77% is a touch messy for a team that lives off set-piece pressure. In terms of mauls, the volume goes to Boks, but the damage was limited. South Africa had 5 out of 6 mauls, that's 83%, and New Zealand had 1 out of 1. But New Zealand's maul defense and refereeing of the entry blunted that traditional green and gold squeeze. Add those together and you get the game's shape. Boks tilt the scrum. ABs keep their line out clean enough to launch the only genuine strike play of the night. Let's look at defense, breakdown, and the close. Tackling efficiency leaned New Zealand 86% versus 81% for South Africa. The difference wasn't just first hits, it was scramble after contestables and spacing on the edges. When South Africa did create quick rucks, New Zealand was superb at slowing ball 3 phases later. At the breakdown, with ruck retention at 96% versus 95%, steals were scarce, which is why a single momentum turning penalty at the Jackal in the final minutes felt enormous from the stands. The theme, few steals, 1 or 2 that mattered. And the discipline and composure. Penalties were tied, but 1 yellow, and it decided the window that produces Tupai's try. That's the razor edge in tests like these. Let's look a little bit of the selections and the substitutions that had that Mackenzie's early entry at the 7th minute. That changed the goal kicking and some of the attacking shapes. He hit 2 conversions and a penalty, plus Tupai's conversion. That's 9 points off the tee in wet air. Borden Barrett starting at 10 with Geordie at 12. Gave New Zealand dual distributors early. When Mackenzie entered, the ABs leaned more into strike rhythm than phase length. The Boks bench came in, obviously. At the 48th minute, Reinach sharpened the tempo. Sasha, Feinberg, Mngomazulu handled both conversions. Kwagga brought energy and, unfortunately, saw the bin. The ultimate double-edged cameo. The tight 5 for both teams. South Africa, they brought in the changes. They got Venter and Lowe. They kept the scrum stable. New Zealand had Lomax and Williams. They helped the exit slightly but didn't flip the scrum dynamic. So what decided it? Let's condense the night to 4 deciding levers. Start versus chase. New Zealand's 14-0 platform changed every subsequent choice. South Africa were chasing in the rain. Sets piece split. Boks scrum dominance versus All Blacks lineout efficiency. And the try came from the latter. The red zone finishing. With only 3 clean breaks, South Africa needed faultless red zone accuracy. New Zealand didn't need volume, just conversion. The yellow window at the 5th minute. Yellow card that precedes 24-10. That was the decisive cushion. With 50 minutes to go, having a 2-score cushion definitely made the difference. So round 2 of this 2-test saga kicks on in Wellington next week. Here's how each camp will need to tweak. For New Zealand, they'll need to stabilize the scrum. You don't need dominance, just parity. 4 out of 6 won at the night, but that won't cut it from the scoreboard cushion in the future. So they'll also need to preserve lineout variation. The 15-channel strike is live, and keep the defensive spacing that forced South Africa into that extra pass. For South Africa, they'll need to keep leaning on the scrum and the mauls, but upgrade lineout execution in scoring zones, convert territorial control. 60% territory for 2 tries is below standard. They also need to manage the bench aggression without giving away the yellow card window that changed this match. And let's also acknowledge the man, the myth, the legend, Ardie Savea's 100th under lights at Eden Park, a night that asked New Zealand for composure, and he gave it. The Boks answered back fiercely after halftime. They'll feel there's plenty on tape to flip in a week. That's it. If you enjoyed this debrief, hit follow, share the episode with a fellow rugby tragic, and drop your questions for the Wellington preview show. I'll pull your best into the mailbag. This is Rugby from the Stands. But before you go, I really wanted to show you some of the beautiful views. The place I'm staying here in Rotorua. This is obviously not a paid promotion, but this place is absolutely beautiful. Look at that view. That's simply stunning. I'm certainly going to be missing this view. Unfortunately, today's actually my last day here in New Zealand. It's been an incredible experience. This won't be my last. First time in New Zealand. First All Blacks game witnessed live. It was definitely a special moment. Also to attend Ardie's 100th, to take lots of pictures with some of the All Blacks players former players as well. That was also quite special. I'm taking away a lot of memories, especially with the family as well. And so, yeah, this is definitely not going to be my last time in New Zealand. Unfortunately, I had to cut short my holiday due to work. So I'm heading back tomorrow, but the family, they're going to be here till Friday. But yeah, this has been an epic experience. And like I said, this won't be my last. Be doing a few of these traveling segments as well, and hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. Give the show some support. This is, like I said in my previous videos, still a very new channel. We hit 50 subscribers. We're at 52 subscribers now. I'd like to get that up to 1,000 hopefully. But yeah, your support really matters. Please do stick around. And thanks for the support. Have a good one, guys. Bye.